The top 20 funniest movies of all time. From slapstick riots to dark satires, these classic comedies will keep you laughing. Sometimes, you just need a comedy, and not to scroll through pages and pages of different streaming services to find one. Instead, whenever you're in the mood for a laugh, you can turn to our list of 20 of the funniest movies of all time. Number 20. Office Space, 1999. In this capitalism satire, Ron Livingston stars as a man who is over his boring office job, but gets hypnotized and starts living his truth by slacking off, which only makes his boss like him more. And if you can't relate the office worker aspect, maybe you can with the unique torture of working in service. Jennifer Aniston co-stars as a restaurant employee who is constantly told she should be happier on the job and wear more pieces of flair. Number 19. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. When Monty Python and the Holy Grail was released in 1975, the Monty Python comedy group was already popular for their show Monty Python's Flying Circus and first film, and now for something completely different. But it's this parody of an Arthurian legend that has become their most beloved work. Armed with cheap costumes and even worse sword-fighting skills, the group sets off on a fourth-wall-breaking adventure into the Middle Ages. Number 18. Mean Girls, 2004. Mean Girls is one of the most quoted movies ever, and for good reason. Writer Tina Fey packed so many jokes into this high school comedy about a girl, Katie, Lindsay Lohan, who becomes part of the popular girls' clique at her new school, but ends up sabotaging them from the inside. It's endlessly rewatchable and funny every time. Number 17. Kung Fu Hustle, 2004. Stephen Chow is the mastermind behind many hilarious movies, but his hit Kung Fu Hustle takes a spot on the list. It's about two guys, Chow, Lam Kai-chung, who want to join the X Gang, but while posing as members are surprised to find that some unlikely members of their neighborhood are secretly Kung Fu masters. Over the top is too light of a term to describe the fight sequences that pop up throughout. Number 16. Groundhog Day, 1993. Murray and Ramis make their second appearance on this list of classic comedies with Groundhog Day, in which Murray's weatherman character ends up living February 2nd over and over again and can't figure out how to escape. Aside from being funny, it's also one of the most claustrophobic comedies there is. Number 15. Girls Trip, 2017. Four friends with very different personalities go on a trip together to reconnect and end up having wild experiences and learning about themselves. It's the same recipe used by a lot of comedies, but it works especially well in Girls Trip, starring Queen Latifah, Tiffany Haddish, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Regina Hall as best friends who head to New Orleans to bond and party and hook up with guys and drink 200-year-old absinthe. Number 14. Ghostbusters, 1984. Who y'all gonna call Ghostbusters? More specifically, three scientists, Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, who study ghosts and decide to start a paranormal removal company. Ernie Hudson and Annie Potts play their new hires. The concept is out there, but it launched a franchise that Hollywood can't stop rebooting, and, yes, you'll have that song in your head for the rest of the day. Number 13. Friday, 1995. Friday shows a day in the life of two friends, Smokey and Craig, as they encounter various people in their neighborhood while trying to pay $200 back to a drug dealer. You can thank Friday for starting off F. Gary Gray's feature directing career, for the phrase "Bye, Felicia," for advancing the stoner movie genre, and for many laughs. Number 12. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 1986. Ferris Bueller teaches all of us to stop and look around once in a while in this film about a high school student who puts in a lot of effort to skip a day of school. Depending on your own level of anxiety, you'll either be totally on board with Ferris, Matthew Broderick, trip around Chicago, or feel a little more like his best friend Cameron, Alan Ruck, who was pulled along for the ride but worried the entire time. Number 11. The Farewell, 2019. A grandmother is dying, but her family won't tell her as a part of Chinese custom. This does not sound like the setup for a comedy, and it's true that The Farewell is likely to make you cry, but it will also make you laugh. First, there are the lengths the family goes to in order to keep their secret. A cousin even has to have a fake wedding. Then, there are the performances from comedian Awkwafina as an American who travels to China to see her grandmother in from the sassy grandmother herself, Shazin Zhao. Number 10. Dumb and Dumber, 1994. You already know what it's about. Two dumb guys, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, stars Lloyd and Harry, two men who accidentally become involved in a kidnapping scheme and a never-ending series of coincidences that they're too stupid to understand. Dumb and Dumber is the first Farrelly Brothers movie and the most beloved. Number 9. Duck Soup, 1933. Taking things way back, we have the Marx Brothers film, Duck Soup, which is widely considered to be one of their best. The film is about two small fictional countries, Fredonia and Sylvania, going to war after Groucho Marx's character becomes dictator of one of them. The plot, though, is only a backdrop for many hallmarks of the Marx Brothers' performances, including plenty of wordplay and physical comedy. Number 8. Dr. Strangelove, 1964. There's dark comedies, and then there's a dark comedy directed by Stanley Kubrick about the Cold War and the potential of nuclear apocalypse. That's what you'll get with Dr. Strangelove, which stars Peter Sellers as the President of the United States, a British Royal Air Force officer, and as Dr. Strangelove himself, a Nazi nuclear war expert. It's satirical, it's disturbing, it's funny. Number 7. Coming to America, 1988. Coming to America is Eddie Murphy's take on one of the great comedy tropes, a person disguising their actual identity. Murphy plays a prince from a fictional African country who travels to America with a friend, Arsenio Hall, to search for a wife after his parents decide he will have an arranged marriage. This involves living in a small apartment, getting hired at a fast food place, and talking his way around many lies as he falls in love with another woman, Shari Headley. Number 6. Clueless, 1995. Clueless is a retelling of Jane Austen's Emma, but centered around a teenage girl in Los Angeles named Cher, Alicia Silverstone. The plot is generally the same: matchmaking gone wrong, attempts to help a new arrival in town, the realization that Cher's own true love is right in front of her, and it's really funny too. The jokes come a mile a minute and reference everything from 90s pop culture to politics. Number 5. Bridesmaids, 2011. Bridesmaids was a huge hit when it came out in 2011, and, unfortunately, was a huge part of the "Hey, women are funny" conversation. The film stars Kristen Wiig as a woman who forms a rivalry with her engaged best friends, Maya Rudolph, super wealthy new buddy, Rose Byrne. The wedding party also includes Melissa McCarthy, Wendy McClendon-Covey, and Ellie Kemper. Number 4. Big, 1988. It's the movie where Tom Hanks plays a little boy in a grown man's body and got an Oscar nomination for it. In Big, a 12-year-old's wish of becoming an adult is granted, and he has to adjust to having a job, his own apartment, and a relationship. This sort of body switches story can be hard to pull off successfully. Big does it. Number 3. Best in Show, 2000. Anyone who loves improv comedy will enjoy Best in Show, a mockumentary about a dog show and the eccentric trainers who participate. There's Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy as a terrier-obsessed couple, Jennifer Coolidge as a poodle owner with a much older husband, writer and director Christopher Guest as a bloodhound lover who can name every nut, and so on. It's weird and wonderful. Number 2. Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, 2004. A bunch of men working at a news station in the 70s have to come to terms with a woman, Christina Applegate, coming on board as a new anchor. Spoiler, this is not easy for them. Will Ferrell stars as the head anchor, Ron Burgundy, a man with a taste for leather-bound books, scotch, and talking to his dog. His crew of fellow idiot co-workers is rounded out by Steve Carell, Paul Rudd, and David Koechner. Number 1. Airplane, 1980. Airplane isn't for everyone, but it is for people who love wordplay and absurd comedy that builds on itself until you can't not laugh. The film is a parody of a disaster movie in which a number of people on a plane get food poisoning, including the pilot. When autopilot is activated, it's an inflatable doll named Otto. That's the kind of humor we're working with here. That's all for today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe and share.